Have you ever really paused and asked yourself what happens when you grow older and find that you're completely on your own? Not just alone for an afternoon, but waking up to a quiet house every single day. Making breakfast without conversation. Sitting down at night and realizing you haven't spoken a word out loud in hours. It's something people rarely talk about until they're living it. And by that point, the silence can feel heavy. Days can start to blur together. A strange drift sets in. But here's the truth, living alone in later life does not automatically mean living in loneliness. There are practical, powerful things you can start doing right now to stay mentally sharp, emotionally steady, and physically well, even if you live by yourself. In this video, we're going to walk through 4 essential practices every older adult should adopt when living solo. These aren't empty motivational phrases. They're real-life strategies grounded in experience and supported by psychological science. They're simple. They're doable. And they can truly change the way your later years feel. So whether you're already living alone or you sense that season may come one day, this conversation is for you. Because you still deserve peace. You still deserve meaning. And you still deserve self-respect, no matter your age or your living situation. And I encourage you to stay all the way to the end. The final point often shifts something deep in how people see solitude in old age. For many seniors, it's been the difference between simply coping and genuinely thriving. Let's begin. Number 1, create a steady daily rhythm. One of the first things that quietly falls apart when you're aging alone is your sense of time. Without appointments, coworkers, or regular visitors, there's nothing external shaping your day. You might find yourself eating breakfast at noon, staying in your pajamas until late afternoon, forgetting what day of the week it is. At first, it feels harmless, even relaxing. But over time, that lack of structure can chip away at your focus and emotional stability. That's why building a simple, dependable daily rhythm is one of the wisest steps you can take. Not a strict schedule filled with pressure. Just a gentle framework. A clear beginning, a middle, an end. Wake up around the same time each morning. Wash up and change your clothes, even if no one else will see you. Make a proper breakfast. Open the curtains. Let light into the room. Set aside time for light movement. A short walk. Some stretching. A hobby you enjoy. Maybe a few minutes outside in the fresh air. Have dinner at a consistent hour. Wind down intentionally. Go to bed at a reasonable time. This isn't about staying busy for the sake of it. It's about giving your mind and body something steady to lean on. When your social world grows smaller, routine becomes an anchor. Psychologists often remind us that human beings are wired for rhythm. And as we age, that rhythm becomes even more important. It supports better sleep. It stabilizes mood. It improves digestion. It even helps maintain mental clarity. There was an 81-year-old widower who once described how life felt after his wife passed away. The days blended together. He lost track of time. Everything felt foggy. Then he made a small decision. Each morning, he would make his bed and open the curtains at exactly the same time. That was it. No grand transformation. But slowly, he felt a sense of control returning. He added a morning walk. An evening cup of tea at a set hour. Those simple habits created structure. And that structure created calm. When you live alone, time can slip by unnoticed. But solitude doesn't have to mean disorder. Establishing a daily rhythm is one of the most powerful ways to protect your emotional and mental health. It's a quiet act of self-respect. No applause. No recognition. But you feel the difference. Number 2, commit to gentle, consistent movement. Another challenge of aging alone is how still life can become. You wake up and sit in your usual chair. You move to the kitchen, then back again. Hours pass with very little physical activity. Days go by where your body hardly changes position. Over time, your body responds. Your back tightens. Your joints stiffen. Your balance feels less steady. Standing up becomes harder than it used to be. Here's what many people misunderstand. Staying active does not require a gym membership, complicated equipment, or intense workouts. What it requires is consistency. Gentle movement done regularly is incredibly powerful. A short walk to the end of the street. Stretching while waiting for water to boil. Standing up and sitting down from your chair 10 times in a row. Light gardening. Tidying up your space. Every small action sends your body a message: you're still needed. And movement does more than strengthen muscles and bones. It directly affects your mood, your memory, and your mental clarity. Research consistently shows that regular light activity in older adults can reduce symptoms of depression, improve sleep quality, and even slow memory decline. So when you move, you're not just protecting your heart. You're protecting your mind. There was a 78-year-old woman who, after losing her husband, rarely left her home. Her knees began aching. She felt tired all the time. One morning, she decided to walk to her mailbox. The next day, she did it again. Within a few weeks, she was walking around the block. It didn't change her entire life overnight, but it gave her something small and meaningful each day. She said she felt more alert, calmer, proud of herself again. This isn't about becoming a fitness expert. It's about preserving your independence. When you stay physically active, you're extending the quality of your life. You're increasing the chances that you can rise from bed on your own. Cook your meals. Care for your plants. Move through your home confidently. And movement also reconnects you with the world outside your walls. A short walk might mean sunshine on your face. A passing neighbor. The sound of birds. These moments matter. So move a little every day, not to impress anyone, but because you matter. Your body, no matter how many years it has carried you, still deserves care and kindness. If this is resonating with you so far, take a moment and let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing that now and turning on the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Number 3, nurture meaningful connection in small, steady ways. When you grow older and live alone, silence can take on different meanings. Some days, it feels peaceful, restful, even comforting. Other days, it feels heavy, like something is missing. You might go hours, or even days, without hearing your name spoken out loud. And even if you've always valued your independence, there comes a point when too much solitude begins to weigh on the heart. But here's something important to understand: connection doesn't require a crowd. It doesn't mean forcing yourself into loud gatherings or pretending to enjoy social settings that drain you. It doesn't mean filling every moment with noise. It simply means maintaining small, consistent threads of human contact. A brief phone call. A conversation with a neighbor. A friendly exchange with the cashier at your local shop. A short message to a friend you haven't spoken to in a while. These moments may seem tiny, but they are powerful. They remind you that you are still seen, still acknowledged, still part of the world around you. And there is real science behind this. Studies show that older adults who maintain even light social interaction tend to have stronger immune systems, lower rates of depression, and reduced risk of memory-related illnesses. Human beings are wired for connection. That wiring doesn't disappear with age. Consider an 83-year-old man whose children moved across the country. After they left, most of his conversations were limited to medical appointments. The house grew quiet. One day, he wrote a simple note to his neighbor, offering to collect their mail while they were on vacation. That small gesture sparked a thank you conversation. The conversation turned into occasional chats. Eventually, they began sharing coffee on Saturday mornings. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't life-changing in a grand, cinematic way. But it gave him something to look forward to. Someone who cared whether he showed up. If there's someone you haven't spoken to in a while, consider making the first move. Make the call. Send the message. Invite someone for a simple walk. Yes, it might feel uncomfortable at first, but small acts of outreach often bring unexpected warmth back into your own life. There's also deep fulfillment in connecting through purpose. Many seniors find meaning in volunteering, mentoring, or offering support in simple ways. Reading to children at a local library, helping at a community center, checking in on another person who also lives alone. Even sharing your life stories with someone younger can be powerful. Your experiences carry wisdom. Your voice still matters. Loneliness isn't always about physical isolation. Often, it's about feeling cut off. And that feeling can shift with one conversation, one new habit, one invitation. Staying socially engaged doesn't mean you avoid solitude. It simply ensures that solitude never turns into emptiness. You deserve to feel valued. You deserve to feel connected, no matter where you live or who shares your home. Number 4, cultivate a personal purpose that gives you a reason to rise. There's a quiet challenge that often accompanies aging, and it doesn't get talked about enough. It's not just about physical changes. It's not only about living alone. It's about purpose. When retirement arrives, routines shift. Fewer people rely on you. The house may grow still, and it can begin to feel as though your most meaningful years are behind you. But that feeling is not the truth. Purpose does not retire. It doesn't disappear just because your role changes. It simply transforms. And when you live alone, discovering that new form of purpose is one of the most life-giving things you can do. Purpose doesn't have to be impressive. It doesn't need applause. It only needs to matter to you. It could be writing letters to your grandchildren, keeping a journal, growing herbs or vegetables, restoring an old piece of furniture, learning a new skill you never had time for before. Maybe it's making a daily phone call to someone who also feels alone. Maybe it's recording your life stories so future generations understand where they come from. What matters is that it gives you something to wake up for. Something that makes you think, create, tend, or care. There was a 79-year-old man who, after losing his wife, felt overwhelmed by silence. One afternoon, he found an old typewriter in his garage. On a whim, he cleaned it up and began typing memories, his time in the Navy, the day he met his wife, the birth of his child. He wasn't writing for publication. He wasn't seeking recognition. But as he put his memories on paper, something shifted. The quiet in his home didn't feel so empty anymore. It felt reflective, meaningful. Psychologists consistently find that even a modest sense of purpose is linked to better mental health, lower stress levels, and even longer life expectancy in older adults. Why? Because the human spirit isn't meant to drift without direction. It's meant to aim at something. When you have a reason to get up, your days gain shape. You're not simply passing time. You're investing it. And here's something many overlook: living alone can actually create space for growth. Space to explore what you genuinely enjoy. Space to try something new without anyone else's expectations shaping it. Maybe you've always wanted to learn an instrument, or paint, or cook dishes from different cultures. Maybe you've dreamed of reading every book by your favorite author but never had the time. This stage of life can be your opportunity. Solitude doesn't have to silence your inner world. It can amplify it. When you discover a purpose that stirs something inside you, your home becomes more than just a quiet space. It becomes a place of creation, of reflection, of intention. So if today feels still, ask yourself a simple question: what can I create, tend, write, share, or care for tomorrow? Not to impress anyone, not to prove anything, but to nourish your own spirit. If this message is resonating with you, let me know you're still here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a great time to join us so you don't miss future conversations like this. Living alone in your later years can feel like one of the most profound transitions of your life. The house may be quieter than it used to be. The phone may not ring as often. The routines that once revolved around work, children, or a partner may now be gone. At times, it can feel like the world is moving forward without you. But here's a perspective that can change everything. This chapter of life, with the right habits and mindset, can become a return to yourself. For decades, you likely lived in response to responsibilities, deadlines, family needs, social expectations. You showed up for others again and again. Now, the pace has shifted. And while that shift can feel unsettling, it also offers something rare: space. Space to reflect. Space to choose intentionally. Space to rediscover parts of yourself that may have been set aside for years. Maybe as you listen today, you recognized yourself in some of these moments. Maybe the silence of your home sometimes feels louder than it should. Maybe there are days when motivation feels harder to find. If that's true, hear this clearly: you are not powerless. And you are not alone in this experience. Thousands of older adults face the same quiet crossroads. The difference between drifting and thriving often comes down to small, steady choices. Building a stable daily rhythm gives your mind something dependable. It tells your body when to rise and when to rest. It restores a sense of order when life feels unstructured. Moving your body, even gently, preserves more than strength. It preserves independence, confidence, clarity. Reaching out in small ways keeps your heart connected to the larger human story. It reminds you that your presence still matters to someone. And cultivating purpose, no matter how modest, breathes life into your days. It gives your mornings direction and your evenings quiet satisfaction. These are not abstract ideas. They are tools. Real tools you can use starting tomorrow. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. In fact, dramatic change is rarely sustainable. What creates lasting transformation are small, repeated actions. Tomorrow morning, you might begin by simply getting up at the same time you did today. Making your bed. Opening the window. Later, you might take a 5-minute walk. Or stretch while the kettle boils. Perhaps you'll send a message to someone you've been meaning to contact. Or pull out that notebook you've been meaning to write in. That's how momentum begins. Not with a giant leap, but with a steady step. It's also important to remember that living alone does not erase your identity. You are still the sum of your experiences, your memories, your resilience, your love, your lessons learned. All of that remains. In fact, solitude can sharpen your awareness of who you truly are, separate from roles and obligations. Instead of asking, "Who needs me today?" you might begin asking, "What do I want to nurture today?" That shift can be incredibly freeing. There is dignity in caring for your own space, pride in preparing your own meals, strength in managing your own schedule, wisdom in choosing how you spend your hours. And yes, there will be hard days. Days when the quiet feels heavier. Days when motivation dips. On those days, return to the basics. Keep your rhythm. Move your body. Reach out in one small way. Revisit your purpose. These anchors will hold you steady. I want to leave you with a question. Of the 4 practices we discussed, daily rhythm, gentle movement, meaningful connection, and personal purpose, which one speaks to you most right now? Which one are you already doing well? And which one could you begin strengthening tomorrow? Take a moment to think about that. Then, if you feel comfortable, share it in the comments. Tell us one insight you're taking away from this video and one small action you plan to try. Your words might encourage someone else who is quietly watching and wondering if they're the only one feeling this way. Your voice matters here. If this video brought you value, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. When you subscribe and turn on the bell, you help us continue creating thoughtful, encouraging content for people navigating this stage of life. And if you know someone who is living alone or approaching that season, share this video with them. Sometimes a gentle reminder is all someone needs to see their situation in a new light. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Truly. No matter your age, no matter your living situation, your life still carries meaning. And this chapter, quiet as it may be, can still be rich, purposeful, and deeply fulfilling. I'll see you in the next video.